Fuck disinformation. Now I've made my attitude toward disinformation clear and made sure that YouTube won't monetize this video. All on purpose, of course. Welcome to another episode of Wayne's World of Science and Technology. Today, in part 2 of the Cynical Old Farts Guide to Geopolitics, we're going to talk about point of view. Let's look at 3 war-torn countries. One of these countries is a large country with a really cold climate. The second is a middling-sized country that's maybe a bit on the warm side. The last is a small, very warm country. All 3 are Ukraine. Paraphrasing Obi-Wan Kenobi, each description is true from a certain point of view. The first is the viewpoint of someone who lives in a smaller, warmer place, like, say, Morocco or Fiji. The second is the point of view of a Ukrainian native. The third is the point of view of someone from Canada or Russia, the 2 largest and coldest countries on the planet. To give you an example, I live in a country the size of Europe with 3 provinces larger than Ukraine. And I used to live in Cobalt, a small town where the temperature barely got above minus 40 at night during the winter. Yeah. In Canada, driving 200 kilometers to work each way every day isn't that unusual. It's not common, but it's not that unusual. So the viewpoint of a Canadian is probably going to be different than yours on most things. I mean, let's face it, there just aren't a heck of a lot of us, so our viewpoint doesn't get out there much. Now, assume your analyst is from a place like Morocco, small, warm, dry. They're going to have a totally different point of view. They're going to take a look at the current weather situation in Ukraine and be freaking out, whereas I'm going to be looking at it and going, saying, oh, well, so what? It's winter. What do you expect? This makes consuming analysis for anybody out there a fucking difficult job. I keep telling people that context is key, and if you don't know the context that the analyst is working from, what they say is useless to you. You have to question everyone and everything. What is the analyst using for a base point? Ask, and keep on asking. If you don't get an answer, you can safely consign that analyst to the garbage bin. If the answer to your question from the analyst is, everyone knows that, it means the analyst you're talking to doesn't have a fucking clue and probably shouldn't be trusted with matches or scissors. Yeah, this sounds nasty as hell. I get nasty as hell when I'm talking about geopolitics. When some assholes in Moscow decided in 1991 to resurrect the Russian Empire, and the death toll is currently now approaching about 3 million, I think, I tend to get a little bit pissed off. When a bunch of butthurt army officers in Myanmar decided to organize a coup, and then when everybody else was unhappy with it, decided to effectively genocide anyone who wasn't army, yeah, I get fucking furious. When you've got some asshole standing on your border with orders to shoot to kill anybody who leaves, yeah, I get upset. Well, actually, I get more than upset, and what I'd like to do to the Kim regime is... even I'm not going to say it on YouTube. They'd really freak. So, basically you get the idea. I can't wait to see certain assholes in front of the International Criminal Court, and I'd love to help get them there. Back to the topic. I keep hearing the word significant casualties. What does that mean? I'm serious. What does it mean? Some militaries think it's 5% of unit casualties. Some 10, some 20, some, well, units gone totally. That's significant. Otherwise, hey, keep on fighting. If you don't know what the definition of significant casualties is being used, the analyst is useless to you. Any idiot can tell you that there are casualties going on in Ukraine. I mean, it doesn't take a fucking brain surgeon to figure this out. The word significant means nothing. It is a bullshit word. Absolute crap. When someone uses significant and they don't explain it, ignore the bastard. Okay, now you got people talking about a long front line Ukraine. Long compared to what? Compared to when? The when is really important here. In World War II, the Ukrainian front line would have been considered extremely long. In 1940, the only fully mechanized militaries in the world were the British and Canadian, for different reasons. Canada, you're not going to take a horse from coast to coast. Britain, they didn't want to transport horses over to the continent if they had to fight overseas. That's why they were militarized. Everybody else was using mules and horses and everything else. Infrastructure across Europe is just nowhere near as advanced as it is today. There wasn't the rail connections, there weren't the roads. You couldn't move troops fast. Ukraine and Russia can move troops fast. They have all of the infrastructure that's built since World War II. They've got railroads, they've got roads. They have all sorts of methods of moving things that people didn't have during World War II. So if anyone's thinking in those terms and they're trying to explain things to you, it could be really, really confusing because the front line in Ukraine is fucking short. Don't be a fool. If you can get from one end of the front line to the other end of the front line in no more than a day without too much trouble, it's a short front line. Yeah, you can draw historical comparisons, or an analyst can, and I do it all the time, and we should do it because historical comparisons are important, but you have to be careful. And then you really got to be careful what you're seeing too, because there's a video of mine where I'd been adding up what I thought Russia had lost in the way of personnel and thought they were in really deep trouble at that point. What I wasn't doing was I didn't sit down and say, hold on a second, if they've lost this many personnel, they must be doing something about it, and look to see what they were doing. Perun, on the other hand, did look, and he did an absolutely fantastic video explaining Russian recruitment strategies, which I highly recommend. Basically explains every single mistake I made, and I don't mind admitting it. I fuck up too. So, be fucking careful listening to any analyst. It's like having a good fuck on first meeting. Sure, it may feel great, especially if your new fuck is telling you how great you are in the sack, but do you know who or what that cock and or pussy has been with before? Or maybe both if you are with a futanari or with multiple partners? Think about it. There are Russian-Ukraine analysts out there who I strongly suspect of being either Russian or Ukrainian propaganda operations. No, I'm not naming any names because I've got zero proof. I'm just going by the fact that there's times when there's things that they say that just don't make any sense otherwise. You know, it could be that they're just fools. I don't know. Or they're deluded, which is the same thing as fools. There's a number of what I suspect are, how should I put it, useful idiots. They drank the propaganda, the Kool-Aid from either side, and they're so on the Ukrainian side that they wouldn't admit anything, and they're so on the Russians, or they're so on the Russian side that they wouldn't admit anything. And then there seem to be analysts who are getting their information from aliens. Or cats. Maybe cat aliens. Damned if I know, but Jesus. They sure as hell don't seem to be coming from this fucking planet. Again, I'm not naming anyone because I have zero proof, and a lot of this is my own personal opinion. I'm just going by information I'm seeing and trying to warn folks. You cannot trust what's being said. 90% of what is coming out is absolute fucking crap. I'm not just talking YouTube, I'm talking the mainstream media. I don't do media, but I pop in once in a while and look, and I see headlines that look like they were written by a fucking drunk. And we're talking mainstream press here, not Joe's newsletter. Anyways, what I'm saying is be careful. Be especially careful if the analyst is saying something you like. You could be falling for confirmation bias, and confirmation bias can be deadly. In closing, I'm not precisely pro-Ukrainian. I'm not anti-Russian. I'm not pro-Russian. Countries and ethnicities are temporary constructs that humans create. We create them to serve certain temporary purposes, and when they no longer serve those purposes, we discard them. What I am is pro-people. People are what I care about. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Hope you have a great time. And you'll be seeing before the new year because, hey, I'm a noisy pain in the ass who can't shut up. Have fun, folks. Bye-bye. And I think I have a dog that needs a walk.